Just a few nights ago, I had the chance to sit down with Jacob Olenick, and we had an awesome conversation about his experience as a lead product designer at Paramount Plus and now at Wells Fargo. And I was blown away to find out that he landed both of these high-paying jobs just using Dribbble and LinkedIn. And so in this video, he actually shares his entire process of how he optimized his profiles to land his dream design job. Plus, towards the end of the video, he even talks about how much you can expect to earn as a product designer. So enjoy the video. All right, Jacob. So first off, I guess talk to us about what it is that you do.
Yeah, so I am a senior lead product designer at Wells Fargo. And previously, I worked at Paramount Plus, where I was the head or the lead designer over the homepage of the product. So essentially, when you're on the Paramount Plus app, no matter what platform it is, I do all that. I do the marquees, the layout, the sliders,
That's so cool.
everything. Yeah. So anything that was on the homepage would come right through me. And then before that, I worked at Access, which is one of the leading ticketing companies in the world. So
Ticketing. What kind of ticketing?
it's kind of like Ticketmaster, but even bigger.
Dude, I love it. Very
Yeah.
cool, man. Well, all of these are services that, like I use Wells Fargo. My wife and I are always watching Paramount Plus. So I've seen a lot of your work. Awesome. So we're going to talk about each of these different roles. And then the whole point of this video is we want to talk about how you landed these different positions. We're going to talk about pay, a lot of different things. And I'm really excited to dive into those. But I guess the first thing that we need to talk about is what specifically you do as a product designer. And we're going to even kind of dive into how that's different from UX, UI, web, all these things. But what does a product designer do on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so the product designer term, some people confuse it with like design in like the iPhone itself, like design in products. So it's kind of like a term that like Silicon Valley kind of put on there because you're designing an app, but it's mostly just a lot of people use UX or UI because it's like user experience or user interface. So essentially, a product designer focuses on kind of all of that. So the UI as well as the UX. Sometimes they have to jump into the role of like a UX researcher, or even like a UX content writer, etc., depending upon the size of your team. So like in my day to day, I will kind of do a lot of research. I'll meet with our UX research team. I'll meet with kind of our junior designers and I'll kind of work on design system stuff or just whatever features I'm working on at that point. So like I have to figure out the psychology that goes into, the app. Like how can I get users to kind of do the steps in a little amount of steps as possible, so that way they're not clicking around or they're not disengaged, etc. And then kind of what I'm known for is a UI, user interface design. So at my last two companies, I was a strategic hire where they wanted to up their design of their product to compete with competitors. So they brought me on to kind of make their product look very premium.
Dude, I love that. You're like the specialized design assassin that comes in and tightens things up. That's so cool. I think there's a lot of, for me especially, there's a lot of confusion between all these different design roles and career paths, and there's a lot of overlap. I think for me, when I hear product designer, I certainly think of someone that has mastered the design aspect, but also, like you said, there are so many other things that you have to consider, like the psychology. And I think you certainly have to have a business mindset. And then in your case, you're managing people. And it is cool how those other skills kind of stack on top of each other. And then you're able to bring so much more value than just strictly design. And I think it is cool how tech in general has kind of elevated our platform as designers, right? Like before, a designer was, working with paints and pencils and things. And now it's like we're creating these products that get seen by millions, hundreds of millions in your case. Like it's such awesome stuff. And I think this video is going to be a really good way for other people to kind of see how if we stack those different skills and values, you can get paid a lot as a designer, which is really, really awesome.
Another thing with like the product designer title is you are kind of a master at the business goals. So that's another thing that you have to think of. Like typically like a UX designer, isn't necessarily thinking about, you know, the goals as a business. So we as product designers have to kind of make sure that we're converting, that we're, you know, getting the numbers that we need to get.
Well, I think that's really important, whether you are working with a company, whether you're running your own company. I think having those skills of a product designer are so important. And then, like you said, you're really doing the job of a number of different designers, but you kind of pack it all in one. So I think that's a
Mhm.
really, really cool attribute to have. All right. So the next big question that I know a lot of people are going to want to know, and that I'm really curious about, is how much can you make as a product designer? And I know that that's a hard question. So it's up to you whether or not we talk like exact salaries, but maybe talk to us about the salary ranges of each of your jobs and how that's progressed and increased over time.
Yeah. So when I first started out as a product designer, I was working for a small startup in Las Vegas, and I think all I made was like 60K. Um, and then when I started, you know, utilizing tools like LinkedIn and Dribbble to kind of make a brand for myself, I started getting higher salaries. So, like in my most recent round of interviews, the salaries ranged anywhere between 150K to like 210K. And if I was to like go to a company like Google, it's up to like 400K for my role.
So cool. When just hearing about that, I think that really speaks to the value that those companies see in a product
Yep.
designer, right? Like you're not paying 400K or even 200K unless it's a role that is incredibly vital to what they're doing, right? And never, yeah, even 10 years ago, never would a designer have had the opportunity to make that kind of money. So that is cool. That gets me really excited. One thing that you said is you mentioned building a brand for yourself, which opened up all of these doors. And I'm such a huge believer that regardless of our career path as a designer, whether we're going to apply for jobs, whether we're freelancing or a combination of the two, or just it's a side gig, whatever it is, building a brand on these different platforms is so huge because people find you, they get to know you, they see your face. If you're making videos, they hear your voice. And then when opportunities come up, you're the first person that comes to mind. And I think it's so cool that you put yourself in a position to be able to kind of work through that progression of eventually reaching this awesome point where you're making so much money. So we're definitely going to dive more into what you mentioned about Dribbble and LinkedIn as well, because I think that is super, super fascinating.
So I was pretty much unhappy with my career just a few years ago. So that's what I did. I'm like, okay, I need to think of this as if I'm a business, to where these companies that I desire to work for, like Paramount Plus or Wells Fargo, etc., they're not going to hire someone who's just a designer, but they want to hire someone who basically has this brand attached to them, and that brand is me and my design aesthetic. So I think that that's really important to showcase that on a tool like Dribbble.
I guess just starting from the very beginning, what made you want to get into Dribbble? And then I guess when did you notice that big switch where you started getting a lot of eyes on your work and people reaching out? Like, tell us about that whole process.
Yeah, so I think it was in the early summer of 2021, maybe 2020. I started posting like Dribbble work almost maybe like once, twice, maybe three times a week. And what I would do was I would purposely design apps that, because on Dribbble, like you see so many apps on there where it's like this stuff, it just, it can't be coded. It can't be done. It doesn't make sense. So what I would do is I would design apps that would actually be used in the real world. Like this could be a product. And I developed this kind of aesthetic where I use, you know, really strong typography and high contrast. I use like a good amount of white space or negative space. I kind of rounded a lot of my corners, just used like really premium looking design, kind of like if Apple was to design, you know, say an NFT app or something like that.
Mhm.
And then what I would do was I wanted to kind of get it in front of people. So I signed up for Dribbble Pro, so that way I can have kind of the head in and the banner and all of that, and I can do case
Okay.
studies, etc. And then on the posts that I wanted to kind of have that type of work or that type of company to hire me, I would boost it. So I think like the minimum amount that you can do is $12 for, the promotion or whatnot. And then I would link that to my LinkedIn, because you can, on Dribbble, you can boost it and have it link to whatever link that you want it to be.
Oh,
So, and then what I would do is I would take that shot and share it to my LinkedIn, and then it would get even more traction on Dribbble. So recruiters, they're constantly living on Dribbble to find designers, but they're also on LinkedIn. So when you pair the two, you have this LinkedIn profile that's optimized for your type of work that you want to do, and then you have a really clean, premium looking Dribbble portfolio.
dude, that is so cool. I have a ton of questions about this, and I'm going to go through these. So the first question slash kind of comment is I've had experiences where I find someone's work on Dribbble, and then I try to reach out to them through email or whatever, and I just can never connect with them, or I'm like DMing them on Instagram. And I think that's the critical part, is connecting that endpoint. And then for you being on LinkedIn, that's where people go to make business connections. That's where people go to, offer jobs and different things like that, projects. And so I think that's really smart to make sure that you have that endpoint. Is that the main place where people are reaching out to you? I'm sure people are still hitting you up on other social media channels, right?
Yeah, so mostly some people will DM me on Dribbble, but I don't see those messages a ton of times. Like
Mhm.
sometimes I'll see them months later and I'm like, oh my God, Google just reached out to me. And I'm like, so that's why I always, even in my I guess description in Dribbble, I link my LinkedIn, because I want people to reach out to me on LinkedIn, but I also want them to go to my LinkedIn, because then they can see the previous companies I worked for and be like, okay, this
Mm.
guy's like the real deal. Like we need to have him on our team. And it just shows like that you're an expert in your field if you're, if your portfolio is on Dribbble, but you have a pretty good LinkedIn profile. It's not like you're just kind of average designer, but you're
Mhm.
taking it very seriously.
Absolutely. Well, I think it checks all the boxes, right? Because on Dribble, they see your work and they're like, okay, this guy, he knows what he's doing. He can design. But then they go to your LinkedIn and they say, oh, he's also a professional. He could also be a leader. He's also articulate. Like they see a lot of other aspects of you. And I think these two are, I mean, I'm not even, I have a Dribble account, but I've never posted anything on there. My LinkedIn is super outdated and I've got so many messages that I've never gone through. And all of a sudden I'm thinking tomorrow morning, I got to wake up and get after it and update these things, because this is such a cool way to connect. So the other thing that I kind of want to ask you to elaborate on is, I thought it was interesting that you mentioned simplistic designs, but also designing for the types of companies that you would want to work with. And I think that's really important, because a lot of times we waste all of our time and efforts building these super crazy complex things to get noticed on like awards.com, right? Get noticed by other designers. When in reality, we want to get noticed by those companies and those clients that are looking for that type of work. So I guess talk to me about your thought process behind that. Do you do research about the types of companies you want to work with? And then how do you determine what projects to do?
Yeah, so it changes every season. So, for instance, like I really wanted to work for Paramount Plus. So what I would do is I would design apps. It wasn't necessarily TV apps, but I would design apps that, like even mobile apps, that I would think Paramount would want to use this type of design. And then what I would do is I would go into my LinkedIn headline and I'll put my title, and then I'll put like a bar, and then I'll put interested in, and then I would put streaming platforms, or music streaming, etc. And then people would search me. Oh, then I would like put that like Dribble project into my featured section where it's like
Mhm.
right there. So then, like I did that, and within 8 hours, I put it in at like maybe 10 o'clock at night. By the morning time, I had reached out to by Paramount Plus and had the job a week
No
later.
way. That
Yeah.
is crazy.
And
Holy.
what's really cool is, because my Dribble portfolio was like full of the most recent shots for that type of style that Paramount wanted.
Mhm.
They then put me in charge of the homepage, which they said they never put any new hire in charge of something so important like that.
Dude, that
Yeah.
is so cool. What a baller move. Just coming right in and taking over. I love that. Dude, dribble is so undervalued by designers, but I feel dumb for not having taken more advantage of it. This is really cool advice. So yeah, for those that are watching this, definitely you don't need anything to get started, right? You can dive right in, start posting your work, and along the way, you're going to learn how to optimize. You're going to learn what gets more views and what catches more attention. But certainly when you're starting out, don't just throw anything out there. Like, you know, as Jacob said, build and design the types of things that that those people are going to be interested in, that you want to work with. So the next question that I want to ask you, Jacob, is can anyone do this? I'm sure there are people feeling discouraged saying, well, maybe I'm not as good of a designer, or I don't have the experience, or I haven't worked with other companies yet. What advice would you give those people?
Yeah, I actually have a lot of friends that are in this field, and some of them aren't the greatest designers, or some of them are really good at, write-in, for example. So there's different niches within, the UX or UI design field.
Mhm.
So for instance, like on my team, we have UX content people. So they just focus on the right copy that goes into the design. Or there's UX designers where, say, they're very analytical, or they can really think about user flows, or they're good at psychology. They can just focus on the UX and the wireframe. So they figure out the structure, and they'll use like little blocks to kind of map it out. And then the UI designer, say you're like a graphic designer and you want to, I was a graphic designer, and I'm like, okay, so you're maxed out at maybe like 50K. And I'm
Mhm.
like, I can't survive on that, especially with inflation. So what I did was I focused on UI. And so you can basically design visually, and it's it's like you put little squares on like a screen, and then you just stylize them, add images and stuff. I think it's easier than graphic design. Graphic designers, man, they got to learn everything.
Mhm. I think that's really great advice, because certainly for those of you that maybe feel like you're not as good or you're not quite there, I think that's totally normal. But Jacob's a great example of just putting your stuff out there, and the opportunities are going to come. So with that said, and I could talk about this for hours, but the last point that I wanted to make is there are so many free resources out there to learn these skills. Just go on YouTube, and there's so much good stuff out there. We were just talking about some of our favorite YouTubers. Jesse Showalter's name came up. I also want to mention that Jacob is just starting his YouTube channel, that I'm really excited to see the content that he pumps out. And I think his whole story and experience is really inspiring. So we're going to make sure to drop that link down in the description. Definitely go give Jacob a follow over there and check out his stuff, because I think it's going to be really, really good for you, regardless of where you're at in your career as a designer. So with that said, I guess, Jacob, is there any last things that you would like to leave us with? Any last bits of advice or wisdom?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, like, I look back 2 years ago at my work, and I was trash. And then when I took this method of like, I'm gonna really focus on my aesthetic, what I want to be known for. And then when I started sharing that to Dribbble, I then eventually got better and better, because I was doing more design. So it's like, if you really want this, then it doesn't take that much time to kind of design a screen or two. You design, a login screen, and then next thing you know, you're 30 screens in, and it's, only been 2 hours or so. And you just keep doing that, and you're going to get better and better.
Man, well, thanks so much, Jacob, for your time. I think there's a lot that we can take from this video. And I definitely want to have you on again. We even talked about having you come give a training inside our Paid Pro group, because there's a lot more that we could learn from your experience. So thanks so much for joining us. So we'll catch everyone in the next video.